Alrighty, grade 5-6s. Hey, welcome to here. Welcome to the garage. I know it's a little bit more empty and it looks a little different since the last time we were in here, but hey, it's warmer because I actually got some heaters in here. Hey, hope you guys are doing great at home. Welcome to grade 5-6 online at home. I don't know, we need to think of a cool name for it, so let me know if you have a cool name for it. If, I don't know, can you comment on this thing? I don't know, is it on YouTube? Hey, well guys, I'm so excited. If you haven't watched our Bible Project video yet, pause this video, go watch that one first, and then come back. All right, you ready? Okay, cool guys. Well, hey, we're exploring some really cool stuff today, doing a little science experiment. I can't wait. It's gonna be so cool. It's gonna blow your minds. And what we're talking about today is God. Who is he, or what is he like? I don't know. That's a pretty big question. It's a question that a lot of people have all over the world, from the Amazon to Canada to China, and you find different people asking, hey, what is God like? Have you guys ever asked something like that? Has somebody ever asked you, hey, like, wait, if God's invisible, how do I get to know him? And I think we have lots of questions about God. If I'm supposed to talk to God, but he doesn't talk back, how do I do that? Where is God? Is he in space or something? And here's the big one that we want to talk about today, is how do I get to know God if I don't really know how to understand him? Because that's the claim of the Bible, is that God's not just way out there, but he wants to get to know you and me. But how do we do that when we can't even see or hear them? Hey, some of you guys probably like video games. I'm not this old, but I used to play some like retro video games like Crash Bandicoot, or used to play NHL 97 or 92 or something like that. I don't know what it was. And your parents are probably like, retro, that's like, you know, whatever. But I used to play some video games, and guess what, guys? They were 2D. If you don't know what 2D is, it means two-dimensional, like a piece of paper. It's only got one thing, you know, like when you're playing Mario or whatever, and it's like Smash Bros, and you it's just like 2D. It's not like 3D. Now you guys got all these like really crazy video games like Gran Turismo racing, or you know, like Star Wars Battlefront, where you can go around. It's 3D and it's super complex. But back in the day, it was like super simple. 2D, Crash Bandicoot, running across the screen like this, kind of like Mario. He's like fighting Donkey Kong, but it's only on like one plane. And I used to play this game, NHL, I think it was like 95, 93, something like that. And it was really funny. You'd be skating along with your guy, and if you turned a certain way, he'd totally disappear because he was just like a 2D piece of paper. But that's what the guys in the video were saying. Hey, sometimes it's like we're like 2D characters in a 3D world when we're trying to understand God. Can you imagine if Mario all of a sudden popped into, I don't know, something like Halo? He'd be like, whoa, what's going on? There's aliens and it's like 3D, I don't understand it. Sometimes that's how we feel when we're trying to understand God, like a 2D character that's all of a sudden thrust into a 3D game. And that's okay. We're going to experience God in different ways. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But the big thing is that it's okay to not get it all the time. You and I are like 2D characters in a 3D game. There's going to be ways where we have questions. But what we want to do today is we just want to spark questions. Because God's not afraid of big questions. I don't know if you guys knew that. It's okay to ask God questions, and it's okay to have big questions about God. Because here's the thing, guys. God's not somebody that we figure out. He's somebody that we get to know and see how he loves us and how he made us. God's hard to understand, but that's the claim the Bible's making. So let's keep diving in. Are you guys ready? I've got a magic trick. In this beaker, I've got a magic invisibility solution. I picked it up, ignore this. I picked it up at the magic store, which is just down the street from my house. And what you do is you pour it into like a beaker like this. I just found this, so I just thought I'd pour it into that. You pour it into that, and then anything you put inside of there, it disappears. Are you guys ready? So, for example, if I got a little piece of glass here, and I'm gonna make it disappear. Are you ready? We got to get a little bit closer up so that you can see this, okay? Okay, are you guys ready for this? I'm gonna make this disappear. Now, you gotta watch closely, and I really hope this works. This is my first time trying it, so let's just see. Ready? As soon as you drop it in, it disappears. Watch. Whoa, look. It's gone. It's gone. Can you see it? It's invisible. Now, I can't reach in there. I'm gonna get my hands all, this stuff's a little slimy. All right, I'll show you again. You ready? You guys ready for this? Watch, it's gonna disappear. Watch closely, watch closely. It disappeared. It's totally gone. I can't see it. There's nothing in there. That's so weird. Okay. You guys are probably too smart, and you probably saw, okay, fine, it's not an invisibility solution, it's actually just canola oil, and but this is a really cool experiment. What it is you can make things invisible when you put them in canola oil, but not just anything, but this certain kind of glass, because the way that the light passes through oil is the same way that it passes through the glass that beakers are made of. So when you look through, it's not actually invisible, but it's just that the light that comes into our eyes, we only see the oil, we don't see the glass, because the light passes right through it. So watch really, really closely again. Watch, this is really cool. Check it out. It almost like disappears right in front of you. It's still there, right? And it's just like, it's totally gone. I mean, you can still kind of see it, but that's because it's not magic. But then watch, as soon as you pull it back out, you can see it. But then you put it back in. So you can totally trick your friends with this, like, be like, oh, is there anything in this beaker? No, there isn't. Oh, psych. Yes, there is. I just pulled out something magic. It would be way cooler if you could pull out like something actually cool, but. All right, if you guys are gonna try this at home, maybe don't do what I did. I've just made a mess everywhere. Or maybe do this in your garage, because I've got oil everywhere, but really, really cool, hey? So, okay, I mostly wanted to do this because it's a really fun experiment. I found it online. I wanted to blow all of your minds, but it kind of got me thinking a little bit. There's a lot of things that trick our eyes and trick our brains. It's not like God is tricking us and he's actually out there as some optical illusion. But there's so many things in our world where we see them, or in this case, we don't see them, and we don't really understand. I think a lot of us struggle with the idea of God because we can't see him or we can't understand him. But there's so much in our universe that we don't understand. And the thing is, guys, is that just because we don't understand God, that doesn't mean he doesn't exist. That doesn't mean that he can't have a relationship with us just because we don't completely understand him. I think it just goes to show that there's a lot of things in our world that we don't understand. I don't understand how my computer works, or my phone, or how Wi-Fi works, or things like that. And those are things that we could learn enough about to understand, but there's so much more that, man, we just can't even understand. It's kind of like being a 2D character stuck in a 3D game. We experience what is around us in the way that we can, in the way that we can understand. But that's actually kind of a big problem, because the claim in the Bible is that we're made to know God. But how are we going to know somebody we don't understand? How can we know God if we can't see or hear him? And here's the claim in the Bible, is that God came in a way that we could understand. God came in the person of Jesus. The eternal, the invisible, the all-powerful, the like 3D to our 2D God. He became a baby. He grew up to be a preteen. He probably got acne, and he probably would have loved pizza and Slurpees if those were a thing in his day. I actually think that Jesus probably would have been more of like a hummus and crackers kind of guy. Hummus. Oh, I love hummus. That's the radical claim of the Bible, that the God who made us, that we maybe can't understand, he's not some far off, mystical, we're never going to get to know him kind of God. He came near to us. And that's the thing that we get to wrestle with. That's the place where God meets us. I don't fully understand a lot of things, and I still have a lot of questions, but that's okay. God's not afraid of our questions. He just wants to meet us in the journey. My hope for today is that we wouldn't leave having answered some questions, but we would leave having asked some even bigger questions. I love science. I think God loves science too. And there's things that sometimes in science we just can't wrap our heads around. It's crazy, like the stars. Did you guys know that the closest star to us, if you wanted to go, hop on and visit a star, is 4.3 light years away? So if you, wanted this afternoon to hop on a light speed bus and head out into space, it would be traveling 299,792,458 meters per second, which is like almost as fast as the first go-kart I built. If you hopped on that bus today, you would get there at Easter in 2025. Isn't that crazy? It would take you over 4 years to get there traveling at the speed of light. And that's like crazy. I don't think we can travel at the speed of light. There's, maybe in Sweden they have like a bus or something that goes that fast. I don't know. So it would be pretty crazy to call anybody who said that they knew everything about the universe. You would say, hey, you're crazy. You don't know everything about the universe. I haven't even been to none of it, let alone the closest star. So if the world is so complex, guys, why do we think that we can just figure out God? The one who made the world, the one who made that star. That's why today we're exploring questions. Because guys, sometimes we look at the Bible as this handbook that written by God that's got all the answers in it, but it's not. It's a story. It's a story that we're invited into, written by lots of different people over a really long amount of time. And they all loved God. But what is cool is that you and I are also invited into that story. It's not just a book about the past. Guys, God's complex, and sometimes it just makes me want to give up. But here's the thing. God invites you and me into that adventure. The same God that made that star, who's 4.3 light years away. That's an intense adventure. So it's not going to be simple, and it's not going to be easy. But when we start asking questions, we start seeing God at work around us. Okay, there's a lot of things, but I got to boil it down to 3 because it's all my little brain can handle right now. I'm a little mind blown about this whole star thing and about this whole disappearing glass thing. But I think there's 3 things this week that we should focus in on. And if we want to enter into God's story, if we want to start figuring out, hey, who is this God? What is he like? And how do I actually get to know him? There's 3 things that I want to say we should do this week. Number 1, let's explore. Okay, so how do we start to explore? Well, Jesus, and this is recorded in Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 and 8. Jesus was teaching a bunch of people about how to pray. And he said this: ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, the one who seeks finds, and the one who knocks, the door will be open. So how do we get to know God that we can't understand or see or hear? Well, Jesus says, start looking, start knocking. It's the invitation for the person who is ready to spend their whole life knocking and seeking and asking these hard questions. But how do you do that? Well, first I was going to suggest that we go out into space. So maybe what you'll need is a bicycle and a really big ramp and a tow rope and a car. And then we'll get you going really fast. We'll launch you into space and then you go see if God's up there, okay? But that's silly, guys, right? God's not in space. God's not, he doesn't live up there. That's not how it works. So what do? Well, God's given us one thing for sure that we can use to start to get to know him. And it's this. It's the Bible. I know, classic answer. Start reading the Bible and you'll get it all figured out. Well, that's actually not what I'm saying, because sometimes we look at the Bible and go, oh, it's like God's handbook of answers, like an encyclopedia on how to get to know God. That's not really what it is. But what it is a bunch of different people's stories. Did you guys know there's over 40 authors who wrote things that are in what we see now as this one big book of the Bible? And it was written over the span of 3,000 years, which is crazy. And see, here's the cool thing, guys, is that God invites you and me into that story. It's not just people's story from the past, but you and me are part of the story now, which is So mind-blowingly cool. It's kind of like this. My friend growing up was a really big Star Wars fan, so I was a really big Star Wars fan. So we would watch the movies, play the video games, read the books. But this was the coolest part. His mom was a sewer. She sewed us Jedi tunics with like the cloak and everything. So we'd take our extra fake lightsabers, because it's illegal to own a real lightsaber. I checked. Okay, so we'd take those out and we'd go out into the park, and man, we were immersed. We were Jedi. We were in the Star Wars universe. We were a part of the story. I'm not saying that the Bible's like a made-up story, but what I'm saying is that it gives us the story to view our life through. Like, how much more cool is it? Like, you probably have a favorite story, a favorite book, and it helps you, like, you go, oh man, I wish I was in that. But how much more cool is it that God invites us into not just a story, but a story that is real? And that's so epic. Reading the Bible can be hard. It can be confusing. But that's where we start. And you know what, guys? God's given us a really great thing. It's called friends. So you need to find some friends. I know it's hard online and stuff right now, but you need to find some friends where you can read and understand the Bible together with them. And that way you can ask each other questions and see each other's point of view. That's how God made it. It's a story that you and I are invited into, and we get to be a part of that with each other. Okay, last thing. If you want to explore who God is, and through the story of the Bible, who you are, you got to learn to listen. One of the biggest questions I have about God is, how do I talk to God when God doesn't audibly talk back to me? Like, how does that work? That's one of my biggest questions. Maybe you're the same way. So listening to God obviously looks a lot different than like listening to a friend or listening to someone speak. But I think here's a couple good places to start, because I'm still trying to figure this out too. But here's a couple good places to start. Start listening to other people who love God, especially if they're different than you. You should listen to old people, like in their 40s. No, I'm just kidding. You should listen to young people. You should listen to people who come from different backgrounds than you. But listen to people who love God, because God's writing a story through them, and you're going to start to see the world through their eyes and how God's working in their life. Well, how do we do that? How do we do that right now? It's pretty tough. We're all at home. But send a letter. Pick up the phone. Send a text. You should tell your youth pastor that you want to go and hang out and drink Slurpees. And then he'll probably say, yeah, let's do that. That would be awesome. We could do that sometime when we're allowed to do that again. And here's the other place where we need to start to listen, is we need to start to get bored. What? That doesn't make any sense. I hate being bored. Well, okay, not being bored, that's not quite what I mean. But here's what I mean. Listening for God takes a lot of silence. You can't be listening. I couldn't be listening to you and, texting on my phone or, talking to somebody else. It takes our attention. So for me, when I want to listen to God, man, if my phone's buzzing or if I'm watching TV or if I'm busy, I'm never going to hear God. Hearing God's hard, but if we can find a way to get away from that, to get silent, to just really make space to be quiet and listen, I think that would be a great step for us being able to get to know God. Someone really smart once said, not me, that God doesn't shout over our busyness, he whispers in our silence. It's hard. Sometimes, being still for a really long time is really boring. It's the worst. Getting to know God is not going to be easy, but it's an epic journey that we're a part of. Because guys, the point is not to just know about God, to figure him out. The point is to know and be known by him. We have this word, it's called love. We want to love God, and we want to experience God's love for us. So what is God like? Man, it's so hard. It's like being a 2D character in a 3D world. It's going to be hard to figure out. But here's the thing, guys. When we start asking questions, when we start having conversations, when we start to explore, when we start to read, when we start to make space to listen, I think God is going to show himself to you and me, and we're going to start to get to know him, because you and me are invited into the epic story of God to get to know him. Guys, so thankful to be here with you this week. You've got some kits. If you signed up, and if you haven't, sign up for next week. You've got some kits that are going to have some awesome stuff, some questions, some crafts, some maybe cool experiments like this one. Don't make it as messy as I did. And so I hope that those are an awesome and a bunch of fun. And I can't wait till we can be in this garage, not behind a screen, but all having a party in here. So see you guys later. Have a great week. Adios.